Well, welcome once again to the Aftermath. And this is the He Said, She Said segment, but a little bit different twist on it. We're going to do a holiday special, given the fact that this is an emotional time of year. And Kindra and I are going to be talking about some things that we think might be helpful. So, who am I? Mick, the Doctor of Digital, and Kindra, our awesome co-host, the legislative tiger. We're going to be talking about holiday things and what you might be able to do to get yourself prepared or get you through the holidays. So hopefully it's a good episode and it will help people emotionally. And that we're really concentrating on the healing portion. That's what we're thinking about. So with that as the introduction, hang in there. Kendra, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Mick?
I'm doing fantastic. So I'm looking forward to this thing, and I've got some ideas, and I summarize mine. I just been 4 different general areas, and we can break it down a little bit. So Kendra already knows, and people who listen to me at all know, and anybody who knows me, music is a huge part of my life. So if I'm thinking about things that are really good and healing, at least for me, listen to music. Music is really good. Another thing, second part I was going to make is something physical. So moving
Hold on.
and
Wait
not
one
sitting
second,
around.
Mick. Let's go back. What types of music? Like, how did that help you get through it?
Okay, so yes, that's a really good question,
Give
and
some
thanks for
examples of
putting
your favorite.
that's some of my favorites. Is that what
Yeah,
you said?
some examples of
Oh,
your
well,
favorite.
oh, my goodness. So there are so many, but definitely I'm a rocker in many ways, and I've been following one particular songwriter for many years. I believe he's the most underrated, but the most significant songwriter in the history of rock music. And that is a guy named Ian Hunter. And what he has done has been writing really impressive lyrics for many, many years. Been in the rock and roll game since the late 50s. He saw all the greats. And I admire him because he's still rocking and he's in his 80s and he's still
Oh, that's
performing.
impressive.
That is phenomenal. So actually, he was going to have a new release this November, right about now. It's been delayed a little bit because of production issues and what have you, which happens in the music business, but he is still out there and still performing. So that would be good. Definitely
Very
somebody to
impressive.
check out.
Ian
What's that?
Hunter. Okay, I wrote him down.
Ian
Ian.
Hunter, yes.
Okay.
So back in the day, the people who know this time, there's one song that they might have associated with his first band called Mott the Hoople. I'm not kidding. I didn't make that name up. And it was a song called All the Young Dudes that he co-wrote with David Bowie. So yes, that's where you would know him. If anything, I also want to think about people and express themselves in terms of music. So this is my best buddy who's written some really phenomenal lyrics himself. Check this out. This is in the novel I wrote, Burning America. And this is the case of a lot of people that would find themselves in this situation, especially during the holiday. Check this out in the lyrics, and I can understand exactly what Michael is talking about. He says, "You told me that you wanted a child of your own. Now she plays hide and seek with daddy on your cell phone." So, in that distance that people have, that might be the only contact that people have during the holidays with their child or their children. But that's the kind of thing, listen to music. But then to answer your question, since I love all kinds of music, if you are upset, listen to classical music. It is a phenomenal way to calm yourself down, turn off the really hard driving kinds of things and all that stuff that's on the radio that sounds processed and artificial. I don't care for that kind of stuff. I'm like old stuff, old style music. Does that
I
answer your
like
question?
Oh my gosh, a lot. And actually, when you read those lyrics, it gave me goosebumps immediately. So that was really touching. So hopefully that touched a lot of our listeners too. But I like that. So rock and expressing yourself through music, whether that's writing lyrics or maybe playing music on your own, and then the classics. So yes, that answers that. I will tell you on my playlist some of the things that I downloaded. If I can play this before or without playing it, I'll look at it. Some of them that I listened to was Brave by Sarah Bielis. I also listened to Life Song by Crowns. As you know, I am a faith follower. So that was one of my favorite songs. I listened to Stronger by Kelly Clarkson. That was a big one. And I needed some of those too that just kind of pulled me out from, I would have, especially around the holidays, and it's really hard even now, right, Mick? I'm not seeing my kids. So it's even hard now where I have days that there's a lot of crying going on. So I need to pull myself out of that. So some of them that I talk or that I listen to and I sing with are a lot more like Champion. That one's a really good one by Carrie Underwood. That was one of my favorite to listen to when I get down and depressed. So just sharing some of mine too. But music is very good.
And since it's Christmas time too, I mentioned you didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My favorite Christmas albums. My second most favorite is Phil Spector's Christmas album, which is really phenomenal. All the early '60s groups, so about 1965 or so. That's phenomenal. And also make sure you check out Ray Charles' Christmas album. It is just phenomenal. The arrangements on that album are just incredible. So those are two good Christmas songs and two Christmas albums I think are really worth listening to. It's the holiday time, so enjoy.
Good. Thanks for sharing. All right, next on your list. Moving past music now.
And that would be physical. So physical, and I mean anything that's moving. The worst thing you can do is to sit around and turn the boob tube on and just sit there and veg out and eat bonbons. So do anything that's physical. So a phrase that comes to mind that I always say is that if you ever notice about dead people, they're not moving. So moving is life. Stopping is death. And so that applies to the physical aspect of life. So get out there. And so for me, since I've always liked hiking, I've been all the national parks, I've been all 50 states, I've been all over this country that's been a phenomenal country. But hiking is really good for me. And if not hiking, just at least walking, but something physical to get yourself moving. And when you're moving, you're alive.
Yes, I agree. And a couple examples I have from that I did yoga, kickboxing, CrossFit, just walking in general. I will agree with you on the hiking as well. I love to hike. And even just being out, I went to the horse barn. That was my therapy too. And just working with the horses. And I think sometimes people don't think, but that's kind of a workout as well, mentally and physically. So you're out doing something at least. I wasn't sitting there watching shows.
Well, if you groom them, there's a lot of movement there.
Yes,
If
very
you're
much. And if you pick up the poop, there's a lot of physical movement.
you got to shovel a lot too. Yes,
That's
there was
right.
when I first got around horses because the kid, my daughter, liked horses, and I go, well, first of all, I was a little bit afraid of them. I was leery of them because I'm used to being around domestic animals like cats and dogs, and it's just the size of those things. They're so large, but you find they do have personalities, and they're really pleasant animals to be around.
They do. They all have very different personalities. And I love now that they're doing the equine therapy. My youngest son benefits from that. He actually he loves horses, and so that was kind of our passion together. Still is. So
Yep, absolutely. So moving and then related to this, I'd say is health. And so when I say basically health, it's the standard things that people always say, but they're absolutely the case during the holidays and especially being when you're stressed. So watch your diet, exercise, sleep, make sure you're getting good night's sleep, get into REM sleep. You got to get into that deep sleep period because that's when it really is going to help you limit the amount of chemicals that you're taking in. I know some people like their stuff, but I mean, be very conscious of drinking and things like that. If you're smoking, might be the time to give it up. Or if you're a little bit overweight, especially during the holidays, we pick up some pounds then. But your health, just watch your basic kinds of things, sleeping, exercising, moving around, and anything that would be negative towards your health. Because a lot of people, when you ask them, you say, how are you doing? They're going to answer, okay. Your body is not really okay. And your body really needs to be taken care of, especially during the holidays, I think, in any time that you're going stressed, because the more you are stressed, the more you're going to get sick because your body is being broken down. You got to watch those things.
yeah, and not only just for yourself, but also if you are a parent of alienation, you need to make sure you are taking care of yourself. So when your children do return to you, you are healthy and fit and ready for them mentally and physically. because that's going to be the next challenge for you. So.
And I agree, because that's like the old saying when you ask, why do they have on the planes when the thing comes down, if there's an emergency, you take the air equipment and you put it on your child first? Well, that's exactly what they're trying to tell you, that you've got to watch what you're doing and also be ready and prepared. And I would say when our child returned home and I got a chance to get her, I said that was the first thing I noticed. So people ask, well, why are you so conscious of your weight and why do you exercise and you walk and everything? Well, that's what I was trying to do. I was preparing for her to get back. And then once she did get back, there's where all the national parks and hiking and going outdoors and being physical really came in handy, because I was ready for her to return.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. So something else I had on my list, Mick, and I don't know if you have it on yours, but anything to do with writing or reading. And one of my favorite things to do, and I've always been like this, and my sisters and I would tease each other because my sister still is. She's 35 years old. She has a child, and she still carries around, I think, 8 books with her if she goes somewhere in a big bag. She hasn't even converted to the Kindle thing yet. I don't know why, but we've always been big book readers. And so I think anything you can do from a self-development standpoint. And I actually have, those that are watching on video can probably see, I actually have, I would turn it the right way here, a couple to show. Grace, Not Perfection by Emily Lay was fantastic for me to read. I think, if I can get it there, what this taught me by reading this book was you don't have to be perfect. You can let some things go. And it really helped me grow and develop so that I could structure my life after a divorce without my kids full time. And so it was just kind of giving yourself some grace and saying, it's okay to order pizza. You don't have to do home cooked meals. It's okay if you're not the perfect PTO mom. It's just giving yourself some grace. And then a couple other of my favorites are Rachel Hollis. Any of her books. I have Girl Wash Your Face, and I have Girl Stop Apologizing. I'm a huge fan of hers. I have another one here that's hers too. Didn't see that coming. That was a good one because I did not see divorce coming. I did not see the alienation coming. And so I have so many nuggets, and I go through, and I actually have physical books of these when I do self-development, and I go through and I highlight, I underline, like it's crazy because it's just different than reading the Kindle, but because I want to go back and look at things. So another one is Lisa Turkist writes some. And one of hers is It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. And I thought that was a very good book as well to help me heal. So I think any reading that you can do, I even would just escape my mind and read, mysteries and different things like that, just to kind of take myself out of it. And then the other aspect is the journaling. I got into journaling. I would write down 3 to 5 things a day that I was grateful for. Positive affirmations, right? Putting those up. I would get sticky notes and put them up on my mirror because I think, so when you look at the mirror every day, you're looking at those positive affirmations because life can seem so depressing sometimes, depending on what stage you're at. And especially around the holidays, like we're focused on, just putting those affirmations up or journaling the things that you're really grateful for helps change your mindset.
Yes. So didn't mention writing, but of course I did because 2.5 years after my child returned, that's where the novel came from, Burning America. So yes, definitely the writing. So that was expressive. So it took about 2.5 years, and I really was writing it at that point, from that point she returned home and that 2.5 year period, and then started to say, okay, I need to get this thing out of me. And since my life is so much revolved around faith, I would always say, what kind of reading you can do, because I have over 4,000 books. I have a small library, definitely a bibliophile, but reading the Bible, especially things like the Psalms and things that are really emotional. And since the Psalms were music and often sung, I think you see that combination because they're all emotionally based. So those parts of the Bible I think that people can relate to, it would be one of those things that you do and find the inspiration, some sort of higher power. I mean, if you're going to try to get through things in life that are really difficult or really out of your control, well, recognize that. That's kind of like the first step. So reading was really good. My mind was mush for a lot of the times I was going through this terrible process, but as soon as I got out of it, I was ready and prepared. I wanted to express and write and to read as well too, just like you're saying.
Yeah. And I think too, you bring up a good point. If I struggle reading the Bible, and I'm 41, I think. And I've always struggled reading the Bible. So I always usually turn to more Bible studies where it's kind of walked through and explained, and you digest it and then you reflect on it. And so Angie Smith had a really good Bible study that I did, and it's online. I think you can order it through Amazon. It's called Seamless. And that was also something that I did.
I think one of the things you can do if you have difficulty now, I have an advantage because I have an academic background and this is close to the things that I studied too. So I'm historian of religions by background. So yes, this kind of comes second nature to me. But I also think that knowing something about the background, the history, the culture, those things really help in understanding the Bible because it's an ancient book. And say I really love the ancient world. I like the Greeks and the Romans. So maybe I'm a little bit odd in that respect. But I mean, it makes more sense to me because I see the bigger context and I understand the culture and the history and the time that all these things were occurring in. And then depending on what part of the Bible you're reading, sure, some of it is more historical, some of it is literary, and that's where people get thrown away, because they can't understand, well, why is this so different? Well, there's different parts of the Bible. So picking it up and reading it at different points will allow you to get insight into it. The more you understand the background, it makes a whole lot more sense. That's what I would say.
Mick, I'm going to have you counsel me then.
It's like, I know, it's just like I'm saying, for a lot of people, it's second nature for me, but I see the bigger picture. But I think what you're reading is you want to see how it applies to you and what you can get that practical application to. And that's where I applaud you when you're saying you find things like that that can explain and help and apply to you personally. But then also listening, I think there's a lot of great podcasts out there too. Speaking of podcasts, just listening to what people say is also a really good and helpful way to understand because there are different parts of the Bible which may be mysterious or hard to understand. But if somebody explains it and listening to it does help a lot.
Hmm. Good point. Yes. Podcasts were also on my list and audiobooks, but we hadn't gotten there. So it's all part of it.
Yes, the great
Because now
part
in
is
this world, everything's digital, right?
gets into your head. Yes, that's why I'm saying that's my whole theme,
Yes.
the doctor of digital. Everything is digital now. So, and I think of even the podcast here. So, in some ways, you have a physical problem, but we're hoping what we're answering for you is a digital answer. And think of this because we never would have been able to reach people through a podcast before, but now we are, and we're here for people. And I think that's the advantage because you always felt so isolated wherever you are. We can reach you now. That's the awesome thing about podcasting and social audio in general.
Yes. Yes. Mick, did you have anything else on your list
I
you wanted
had
to share?
just kind of like some things to think about, right? So I broke it down in those four different areas: music, physical health, and faith. But here's some things I think to be aware of during holidays. Be aware of your emotions and know when you need to take a break. Set boundaries. Here's one of those difficult things that your family and other people are going to be asking you, but know how to set boundaries. Here's something to say: I prefer not to talk about X or whatever that subject is. I understand you're curious, but I'm not ready to share that. Here are some diplomatic ways of saying the things because if you start to come across family and friends are going to be pressing you, but have some boundaries. Only show up to what you enjoy, know when to leave, take time to cool off, splash water on your face or your hands. Boy, that'll change your mood right away. Take deep breaths. That's a good one because we hyperventilate. We're getting nervous. Everybody knows that. So take deep breaths. State your needs, bring a guest buffer, or know your allies. So a lot of families, you know the people who are kind of on your side, people who are not so friendly, and know who your allies are. be a strategic helper. One of my favorite is, who wants to watch the kids? Well, I'll watch the kids anytime. I love kids, and they're easy to get distracted because they're not going to be pressing and they're just fun to be around. And doing the dishes. Hey, do the dishes. Good way to break. You're helping people out. It's a win-win for everybody all around. So those are some things to think about. Move, you live, stop, you die. And I love the quote from Nietzsche. I understand it's in a popular song as well. That which does not kill me helps me grow. So whatever you're experiencing, what are you supposed to be learning during that difficult period? That's what I would think.
Hmm. Mick, there's so many nuggets. Oh my gosh, you could talk all day here. I could take so many things away. I want to touch too, and I love the setting boundaries. Oh my gosh, that can be huge on your emotional health, because I think so many of us, especially like to your point, if you wrote a novel, right, our stories are just evolving all the time and you kind of get sick of repeating it. And I love those little nuggets that you gave and the ways that you said, thank you, but I don't really want to talk about it, but thanks for caring right now. That's a great way to set those boundaries. As we look into the new year too, depending on what contact you have with your children at this point, there's a few things that you can probably do. One is, you're looking into the new year, create your vision board. Get some things together, and you can actually do this online. There's actually several different tools that you can use online if you Google vision board. And since we're not sponsored by any, I'm not sharing any, but I have a couple out there, and you can actually use them and cut pictures and put different pictures in. And your vision board is where you want to see your next year going. So whether that is financially, what are some goals? What, do you want a new car? Maybe you want to take a vacation with your kids this year and you haven't in the past. Maybe you want to have an animal. Maybe you want to lease a horse, right? Whatever it might be, just some vision board that give you some clarity to what you're working towards over the next year. And put that as your background on your computer. That's what I did, so that you're looking at it all the time at your desktop. And you can also, old school, cut them out of catalogs. I don't know if they still had that. I did that several years ago, but I haven't looked for that recently. But you can cut them out and put it on a poster board, right? And hang it up in your house. Get your kids to buy into it. Do it with your kids. And if they're not with you, that's okay. You can create that vision board for yourself and share it with the kids and say, this is where I'm going. And again, that shows that you're healing mentally and that you're moving forward, and life is okay. It's going to be okay for you and for them. I think other things you can do, since it's around the holidays and the end of the year, you can always put together, I call it a yearbook at the end of the year, write pictures and photos of the whole year together and create those memory books and scrapbooks. And you can, order them online and have them printed and use them as gifts, for your kids to send them. There's multiple things that you can do without your kids that would be helpful for your mental health and moving forward. And to show them, you can always, the other thing that I did is I did a journal for them. And it was a physical journal, right? I actually wrote in a book. I'm a big journaler, but you can also do video journals, and just every day, kind of what you're thinking of with them, maybe some new traditions you want to start after the divorce. So if you're seeing them and you're only seeing them every other weekend, maybe you have some new traditions that you want to start. So not just so much, I know we've talked about before, rules and setting rules and boundaries and expectations, but maybe some things that they can look forward to and new traditions in the aspect of not only the holidays, but just maybe summer vacation, spring break, whatever it might be.
Awesome. Lots of great ideas there. And had one other lyric, if you were thinking about closing down and we're about
Yes.
finishing up. Ian Hunter again, who I mentioned earlier, one of the last songs in the novel, and one of the favorites there was, you're somewhere in between during a difficult period. There's heaven, which is great. There's hell, which is not so great. But he's got a song, I'm living in purgatory, and anything's better than this. That's what you got to keep in mind. That's how I close out the novel. Again, Ian Hunter lyric, that you're living in purgatory, but anything is better and you've got to look forward. And a vision board, I think, would be an awesome way of doing that. You want to get to where you want to be. And it's a new year. Start off fresh.
Yes. Thanks, Mick, for the conversation.
Awesome. So hopefully that's helpful. Get people through the holiday. And we've got more exciting things coming up, great guests coming up, great things to look forward to in the new year. So if you have not already, make sure that you like, subscribe, share, and positively review The Aftermath on Apple in particular. Positive reviews help us a great deal. Thanks everybody for listening. Until next time, Deus Volt.